Hey there, rockers. Bob Mould here. You may know me from Husker Du, Sugar, and I've been playing guitar for about 40 years now, and I love teaching people because guitar is pretty easy. You just have to follow this one simple trick. And there you have it. See you on stage.
Thanks, Bob. Ego and Vice, episode 115.
You've got a real attitude problem, McFly. You're a slacker.
Born and raised in South Bay, lower class punk ass, I was Northwood grade. I had it made. Spent my nights drinking with my mates. Just a short bus ride up to PA. Red River Red. Then I hit the wall and I knew I had to bounce. They still say that 19 years ago, hell, I got the hell out. From time to time you may see me hanging around. Now I feel like a stranger in this town. Crocs and roses where I learned to play. The Westwood Tavern's where I learned to walk.
Hey, this is Mike. This is Ego and Vice. Welcome back. How is everybody? How was everybody's week? Good? How was mine, you ask? Oh, busy, as usual. In Southwood Studio, I had an awesome band. They are called Class of 91. Great bunch of guys. We had a great conversation. And you know what? Let's just get right into it. This is a song called Pull Me Back Around. This is Class of 91. Right now, Ego and Vice.
Lost in a confidence bag. I'm the ghost in the sheet again. Filtering out the best parts, never to be seen again. It's another go around. With heart in hand and head bowed. Just trying to understand if the emotions fit the land. Here's another deflection track. So everyone gather around to see right through it, to see right through it, to see right through. While my eyes never leave the ground.
Hey, welcome back. This is Ego and Vice. My name is Mike. This is episode 115. As promised, in Southwood Studio, I have the local band, Class of 91. In Southwood, I have Ian, Brock, and Steve. How's it going, guys?
Very well, thanks.
Perfect.
Oh, thank you for coming. Like I said, we talked off mic there for a bit. The local Ottawa music scene lately has been making it really easy for me to find guests because there's so many active bands, so many awesome active bands. And when I reach out, it's you guys are enthusiastic as I am to have you on as you are to be on. So that makes my job really, really easy. Okay, let's kind of do a roundtable thing and just introduce you guys. Introduce yourself. What do you play? And if you woke up and you realized it was 1969 and you were Paul McCartney, what would you change?
So I'm Steve. I play drums in Class 91. And what would I change? I don't know. Things are pretty awesome in the music world. So if I were going to change anything, it would be with, the world outside of music and try and make a better place for a lot of people. And music has a hand in that. So, just keep doing what we're doing, I guess.
Cool. Brock?
Brock. Rhythm guitar, backup vocals. And if I woke up as Paul McCartney in 1969 and you asked me what I was going to change, the answer would be the same every day. My underwear, my shirt, and I get on with the day.
Very good. That's good advice, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and my name is Ian. I am the lead guitar player and singer and songwriter for Class 91. What would I change in the world? Very good question, because it doesn't matter which direction the world seems to go in, it always seems to end up in some kind of a bizarre configuration. The upside of that being is lots of good songwriting fodder that comes along with that. Mm-hmm. We live in interesting times as it is. I'm not one to sort of delve back into the past before I was born to try to figure out what I would change. I think it was already on a trajectory. So
I'd probably tell John Lennon not to go to New York in 1980. That's probably a good piece of advice. But I don't know. Did I know about that? Am I going back with my own brain? Anyway, that's like a mind bender. So let's talk about Class of 91. Let's talk about the 90s. Because I'm a 90s kid. I grew up in the 90s, the grunge era. I just talked about how I can't believe Dookie is like 30 years old now. And like when I was a 90s kid, my parents were like 60s kids, and the 30 years. It's just, I can't wrap my head around it. It doesn't feel the same. Yeah, how do you guys feel about that? How did the 90s shape who you are today or the music you play?
90s, the era of the 4-track Fostex.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what Steve and I used to tinker on back in the day. Yeah, so I mean, I think sort of our musical DNA would have come out of the late 80s and into the early 90s. That was sort of like that foundational period of, that sort of shaped, stuff that we're interested in, stuff that we would sort of adopt sort of musically. So, you're looking at bands like the Smiths, bands like The Cure, REM, some early U2 coming out of there, and sort of delving into the punk rock scene a little bit with like bands like Fugazi and the whole gamut of stuff. And then cusping into the 90s, to your earlier point about sort of the, when the grunge scene was sort of hitting hard and strong. I mean, if you look at 1991 as a year in music and start going down the list of albums that came out, it's bananas. Like how that one year has such a pivotal sort of impact on the shape of music.
I remember that I saw something like that on the it was in the internet or social media anyway, and they had the list where it was the Black Album from Metallica, it was Blood Sugar Sex Magic for Chili Peppers, anyway.
Yeah, you had Bad Motorfinger by Soundgarden. Nevermind by 10 by Pearl Jam.
Nevermind, right?
I
think Guns N' Roses was the other one that listed on that one there.
Yeah,
Use Your Illusions.
Yeah, I love those records. Use Your Illusion. That's. I have a friend in Toronto. Her name's Yana, and whenever I go up there, we listen to Guns N' Roses. It's crazy because it's just so nostalgic,
So it is crazy, and to think all of those albums, to your point, are now classic albums.
Crazy,
right? It's bonkers, but that's the stuff that we grew up and we experienced, and that's what that ultimately sort of shaped, I think, at least the musical DNA. Not to say that we're necessarily trapped in there, but if you listen to Class of 91 music, you know, you're obviously going to be able to tease out a lot of those elements, just like if you were to hear a band, say, that was, you know, maybe 10 years sort of, you know, ahead or behind, you're going to be able to tease out those musical influences based on that pivotal sort of period in one's musical life, right? So,
Definitely.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, please.
Do we, as a collective room of people here, think that people in their teens and 20s regard the 90s music as classic rock? Or do they acknowledge that there's, you know...
Well, that's hard. I guess that's hard to say. I remember... Okay, let me compare it to an experience that I had. I remember when I was like 18 or 19 and I was working at I was like a helper at like a construction trucking thing, and the driver who I was with, he'd always put it on Shea 106.
Yep.
Because like Hotel California and stuff like that. And he's like, this is the music. And I'd be like, nah, this is crap. I don't know if they consider it classic rock or just crap. You know what I mean? Because they don't get it.
Yeah.
But now it's like that stuff to me. I'm like the driving. I'm driving and playing with the radio now. And I'm on the 90s weekend with Jen Traplin, right? So I don't know, man. It's a great question. What do you guys think?
I was just going to comment, you know, what I see a lot of now, it's coming out of Hot Topics or a lot of the thrift shops, but you see a lot of the Nirvana shirts. You see a lot of the, you know, those, whether it's a Nudero or just the happy face. Well, they're not so happy face. But you're starting to see them wearing the shirts, and a lot of the times they're very familiar with the music as well too. So is that a link back to classic, or is it just it's a link back to something?
I think it's availability now too.
Yep.
Where when I was 19 years old, I didn't have the cash to go to the record store and pick up the Eagles' greatest hits, right? I was going for Bad Motorfinger because that's all my money. Nowadays, kids they have such easy access to it, so they can listen to it, right?
And these are also the kids of parents that would have grown up with that music too, right?
Right.
So just
So it's
like
probably in the
our
house.
parents were probably listening to the Beatles or whatever sort of their frame of reference was, the Stones or the, you know, Beach Boys or whatever it was, that would have obviously landed with us at an early age. But now I say you have a generation of parents that went through that period of musical history.
Yeah.
You know, and if that's on in the house, and then to Brock's point, just the accessibility of being able to get that, because back in our day, you had to work if you were trying to find something that was slightly off the beaten path music wise, particularly if you're starting to get into like, you know, sort of the alternative or punk rock scene of that time. I mean, you were reliant on, you know, zines, and you were reliant on mail lists and like the one or two record stores in town that actually,
and you had to order them, right? And it was like 2.5 months later, you'd have to go be like, is it in yet? Nah, nothing today.
Whereas today, you just hop onto Bandcamp or Spotify, and it's just like the world's your oyster, right? So.
I think the point I was trying to make, though, more so was that you can go and buy the Justin Bieber t-shirts and the Taylor Swift t-shirts, which are hanging next to the Nirvana t-shirts, and it's the Nirvana t-shirts that I see, and the Smith t-shirts. You still see the Taylor Swift, but yeah, Joy Division. Yeah, I have this Joy Division t-shirt, and I mean it's a guaranteed conversation no matter what I go across the generations. Everybody knows that t-shirt.
Right.
So with all of that selection available, they're picking up the Nirvana shirts.
Well, back there, it was cool graphic stuff. You know, the Appetite for Destruction cross with all the skulls and the faces. It's a cool image. So I'd wear that shirt I'd probably wear that shirt if I didn't know it was awesome already. Yeah. But I wonder how much of the retro style that is, as opposed to like knowing who the band is. Like they might know who the band is, but it's like, name a song, you know.
Well, there's your link right there. We're talking, you know, this part of the conversation was about, do we reflect on that as classic music? And you use the word retro to reference it.
Retro.
So, I mean, yeah, by definition or by fact, it's 30 years old. So whatever, I mean, if you listen to Alan Cross or anything, you've got these like 13-year cycles and whatnot, or that would put us 2 cycles away from where this is. And whatever that translates into how you reference the music, it's good music. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't change.
Was there an equivalent in the 90s to the, you know, how the, like now at the Hot Topics where you can buy like an Appetite for Destruction t-shirt and that album came out 37 years ago. Was there something in the 90s that you saw that you would pick up or you'd wear and you'd be like, weird, like I don't know, Mamas and the Papas shirt or something.
I guess whenever,
I don't remember
whenever
that.
it was in stock
Yeah.
at Rock Junction down on Reno Street.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Probably just Ramones, and like
Ramones, yeah.
and like you said earlier, I didn't have any money back then, so I wasn't buying anything.
Right. I don't have any money now.
We had a strange fixation on things that were like really out there. Like I'm thinking Sri Chinmoy and
yeah.
you know, not so much inspirational music wise, but just things that were really like offbeat, you know,
Yeah,
I guess. And
a little eclectic and
not that we ever had a Sri Chinmoy shirt. That would have been awesome.
yeah.
I think it's like generations of music inspire the next generation. Then everything comes from something and something. If you have the accessibility to listen to music that's 30 years old, whereas we had the ability, but it was a lot harder. You might even listen to that kind of 30-year-old music as a now generation person and say, hey, that kind of sounds like something I listened to in the process of my musicianship or life or something like that. And in the end, it's just good music.
Yeah. And it resonates with you at that point in time for whatever reason it resonates with you, right? Whether it's tapping on some emotional string or there's like an aggression to it that you're tapping into, or just there's something about it that absolutely lands. And it'll be there for forever. Right?
Can you dance to it?
I
Depends what you define dance.
was going to say I lived in a mosh pit back in those days. I consider that dancing.
Yeah. So, class of 91. I know you took some time off. You took a big long break from playing music. You played music a long time ago, then you kind of picked it back up. You guys have played together before?
So Steve and I have. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, can you kind of...
Yeah, so Steve and I have known each other for a very long time. I think
Grade 10,
I think. So a good chunk of our lives we've known each other. Yeah, and we had tinkered in some bands back in like high school and early university. And then for no real particular design, I just sort of just put the guitar on the stand and walked away from it for quite a while. I mean, I would tinker with it, but not in any way to sort of like create music or look to play live music again. And then Steve, I think you sort of continued on a little bit there.
I was actually not a drummer when Ian and I were initially involved together musically. But I always wanted to be a drummer, and there's a long, sad story that goes around why I wasn't a drummer until much later in my life. But
A sad story. Wait a second. Wasn't there like a trumpet and some like
oh my God,
synths or
do you
something
know the story?
involved? I might have done my research.
Yeah,
It's not my first podcast, guys.
I'll do the very brief version. Where I wanted to join the Richmond Drum Corps as a child, but they didn't need drummers that year, so I picked up the bugle instead and played trumpet all through high school, all the while wishing I was a drummer. And
It's funny because we were in a concert and jazz band together in high school, and I was a drummer.
yeah,
in that, so.
that's the strange twist in all this, I guess. But eventually, I did buy a drum kit, and here I am.
So technically, there's two drummers in class of
Technically?
91.
Yes.
I would say technically there's one because you want to.
Oh, okay.
You don't want to see me behind a drum set.
Ian's like, no, there's one. There's one.
It is that guy.
Yeah, I have like an ongoing joke that makes me laugh, where it's like if you're a drummer in Ottawa, you're in like 3 bands.
Yeah.
Class of 91, you're in 1 band, but you have 2 drummers.
Yeah.
So. Very interesting. Yeah. And Brock, you've played music forever.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a somewhat musically extended family, so there was always the acoustics and the cowboy chords. Picked one up at 12, muddled around through high school. Same thing, bands that never really got anywhere. Then I as well kind of never put it down, but sold it off at one point to travel, and so there was a gap. And then one day you're needing to pick something up and it's not there, so you buy it again. And that was an acoustic, and I played acoustic guitar probably for 20 years, and it's only when we got back into this band that there was a requirement for an electric, and then I had to relearn how to play an electric guitar. So it never really went away, but yeah, guitars can be worth a lot of money, and a lot of money can get you where you want to go sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. I was in Long and McQuaid today playing some acoustic guitars. I played the $230 ones, and I played the $8,000 Martins. Yeah. Anyway, playing an acoustic guitar for 20 years, you must be a songwriter.
No, I wouldn't classify myself as that. I heard, it's, will I write a song? Yeah. Do I have ideas and pieces of paper all over the house? Absolutely. Are there chord progressions in my head and scattered across, sound waves and stuff? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. In this construct, I'm not a songwriter. Mm-hmm. Could I pick up a guitar and bash out a song I've written? Yeah, absolutely. But I wouldn't consider myself a songwriter.
A songwriter. You're a guy that plays guitar and writes songs once in a while. That's fair. I had a conversation with Sandy from Teenage Fiction.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we had a little conversation about, do you consider yourself a singer-songwriter? And I don't. I've written songs my whole life, but I don't.
Yeah.
And he said, no, I don't either. I'm just a guy who plays music.
Yeah.
So
I don't think I would tack that term on to myself either.
Yeah.
I mean, my gut reaction when I hear the term singer-songwriter is someone with acoustic guitar and a microphone.
Who's really, really good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's not.
Yeah, I
think
if you, I guess it doesn't matter, and it's all a matter of opinion or just how you want to present yourself. But I think if you coin yourself a singer-songwriter, you better have some pretty decent songs, I'd say. Okay. Anyway,
It's funny though. For the longest time when I started playing drums, people would ask me, "Oh, you're a drummer," and I was, "No, I play drums, but I'm not a drummer," And you kind of grow into it, I think, eventually. And
yeah,
these guys, from an outsider looking in, these guys are definitely songwriters in my view,
right,
of things. I hope you don't take offense to that.
No.
And it's not a label. I just, you guys are good at it. And
yeah, I'll second that. Absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
That kind of brings up another question too, is like, do you consider yourselves musicians? That's a tough one, right?
It's
weird.
Tough one.
Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah, so it's like, is musician a job title or is it a title? Like, yeah, that's a good question. Like, or am I someone that plays music?
Well, you tackled this with Neon Ghost House on your podcast
I did.
too, I think.
They're good questions,
and
though.
I think they suggested if you can make a living off it, then perhaps you're a musician.
I think so.
I think that was where that landed. I don't know. It's just such an integral part of our lives, I suppose, collectively and individually, that I don't have a label for it.
Yeah.
I play guitar every single day, even if it's just for 10 minutes. Doesn't make me a musician. It makes me a guy who
plays guitar.
Needs an outlet.
Yeah, that's good.
And even from my own personal experience there too, getting back into music after a very, very long time. So we're looking at probably about 20 to 25 years. It really opened my eyes at how much that was an integral part of my life that was gone for a long time. So like the ability to be able to do this now, like it is like, Tuesday night rehearsal. I love Tuesday nights. Like I look forward to Tuesday night rehearsal, playing a show, love all, like just everything about it. So to reflect back about that was a gap in my life for a long period of time. Like that, it's part of the DNA.
I can completely understand where you're coming from. There is, if you have music in you and it was there, it never goes away. It might sit kind of dormant, but it comes out in other ways. It doesn't mean playing guitar. You might just listen to music, or you might sing in the shower. Or it's just always kind of. So, but anyway, my point was, you can always come back to it because it'll always be there in one form or another, right? And your life experience will show difference in songs and growth and whatever. But anyway, life happened. You guys all got together. How did the band form? Like, was it a big bang and boom, there you were?
Well, we always refer to the monthly jam session.
Yeah.
That was kind of...
Yeah, so Steve and I, we had talked for long periods of time about would it be nice to get back together and make a racket. Brock and I had a similar conversation. We'd bonded over music. Fred, our bass player, we'd had that similar conversation as well. So yeah, we started off, the four of us plus a couple of other friends. We would just get together and just make a racket, just a bunch of playing covers and stuff like that, but just to get together and sort of like reopen that aperture of making noise, interacting with other people, everyone bringing different songs to the table, try to figure out what works and what didn't. So that's kind of like, that's sort of, I guess, the on-ramp into what became Class of 91. life kind of got in the way there with a couple of people that we were jamming with, and then we started to kind of kick around the idea at that point. It's like, well, maybe we could try write something, sort of see how that played out. And that was, again, kind of like, haven't done that in a very long time. So yeah, so we just started to sort of chip away at that a little bit, and then started to build up a bit of a body of work. So we were probably about like 60% originals, 40% covers at the front end when we started going by class of 91, and then yeah, it just sort of evolved from there, with the pandemic slapped right about 6 months into the formation of the band.
Absolutely.
So.
The pandemic is a heck of a topic, but like I always say, there's more interesting things that came after it. But it was a great time to write music. It was a great time to kind of plan, and it's great that it's over, and now you guys pulled the trigger, and now you're out there. And you have two records out. You have 2020's Eyes on Fire and 2022 Lost Stories. Where did you guys record? Did you guys do it yourselves?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's the way to do it, right?
The cost-neutral approach, too.
Yeah. That's another thing. When you put down music for a long time and then you pick it back up, you're like, oh, I forgot how expensive this is. This is really expensive fun.
Yeah. So, Steve, I'll let you tackle that one there, maybe.
Yeah, sure. Being the drummer, it's easiest for me to just leave my drums in one place and set up the mics. So I have a little bit of experience with previous bands in doing the engineering kind of side of things. So I generally track my drums and then bring in the other musicians to record the other parts afterwards. But all that happens as kind of a separate effort from the songwriting. Ian's pretty good at putting together a complete song, so that when we get together, we're there's still a creative input, but the songs are pretty much ready to go. And we play through them until we know them upside down and backwards before we record them. So it's very efficient when it comes to studio time. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, studios, and like I always say to all the local studios out there, keep going. Awesome job. Any listeners, you go out and use your local studios if you don't have the means to do it yourself. But if you have the means to do it yourself, I think it's super exciting. I am a true believer in the DIY I don't know, bubble, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. This is DIY. I like it the way it is. And I don't know, you can kind of control it. You can kind of direct like what you want it to sound like. You don't have to, you can take your time on it. There's no deadline with the clock ticking or the money running out, that type of stuff. When you're writing songs, what's your process? Like, what do you write about?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I'll maybe tackle process first. So to oversimplify it, typically the way that we've approached it is I will record an idea in my home studio. So typically just using like an auto drummer, I'll grab a bass guitar and pretend I play bass for the 2.5 minutes that song exists. Put down a couple of guitar tracks, put down some vocals, and then flip it over to the rest of the band. And again, it's designed to be, a template. It's not designed to be sort of like the be all and end all.
It's a demo.
It's a demo, right?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like this is what I'm hearing in my head. Now, I think with the more experience that we have playing together, that process has become a lot more tight and intuitive. So, for example, I have a really good idea what Brock, how he plays and what he brings to a song tonally and stylistic wise. So now I could probably knock out something that is very Brock-esque, right? As a demo. Bass, again, I'm not a bass player. I mean, I can muddle my way through it. Sometimes I'll come up with like, I'm kind of hearing a bit of a lick or a bit of an idea. So I may highlight that to Fred, but Fred is an incredibly accomplished bass player. And not my circus, not my monkeys. I'm going to let him kind of do that. And then Steve, obviously, like Steve's a wicked drummer, and auto drummer is good to keep a tempo, but it's just literally designed to be kind of like a bit of a
click track.
It's a click track, right? So that's sort of the process that we kind of adopted pre-COVID, and then we would sort of take that demo, flush it out, get it down, maybe kick the tires live a couple of times if we had that opportunity, and just until the muscle memory kind of kicks in there. And that's typically where we would go to record it. So if you looked at Lost Stories, and if you looked at Eyes on Fire, so Eyes on Fire is very much a reflection of like, okay, I'm going to try to write a song, and this is the first song that came out, and I'm going to try to write a second song, and this is the second song. So that it's like, it's very much it's a bit of a collage, I guess, of evolving, getting used to getting back into this, and getting the Class of 91 sound. Mm-hmm. And then Lost Stories became a little bit more, I think by the time, I mean, again, you had the pandemic in the middle of all of that, and a lot of stuff that was happening during that period of history was very influential on some of the songs and the lyrics on that album. But by that point, we'd also sort of locked into a Class of 91 sound, right? So I would say Eyes on Fire is a little bit more experimental, trying to get to what became sort of Class of 91's current sound, and then Lost Stories is much more of a presentation of what that is.
Yeah, it's like an evolution of the actual band itself, and I can relate to that, where I've put bands together, and I write songs. I'm not a songwriter. I write songs. I write songs, and bands that I've put together before, the first kind of recording is kind of a mismatch, because I have all these different songs from different time periods, and you say, well, I got all these songs, and that's what the band kind of does. Yeah. And nothing will bring a band together more than just playing together, because you start, like you were saying, you'll just know everybody's little styles and everybody's little quirks and that, and you'll even unconsciously start adjusting your style because you know he's going to do that thing he likes to do, type of thing, right? So yeah, it's just, they say any band, like when you get together, even though you're good, a band peaks at like 10 years or something like that. That's when they really start rolling. So you guys got together in 2018?
Yeah, 2018, 2019.
2024, you're past the hump of 5 years, so 4 more years, you guys will be
coming up in a big one.
The perfect band. the perfect. Yeah.
We do birthday parties and weddings.
That's right. The occasional bar mitzvah. That's cool. Does Class of 91, do you have a message, or do you just write about what's going on in your life?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Do you share lyrics, or is it you the sole lyricist?
So far, I'm the sole lyricist. And again, not by any crazy design. I'm not. I don't consider myself a very accomplished vocalist. So there's kind of one or two types of delivery systems that come out of my mouth. So I do have to kind of lock into how that works in my brain so that I can comfortably deliver that. I've become a lot more confident since we've been playing, like particularly with live shows. I mean, that was the first bit of honest feedback that we got when we first started playing, is I was a very under the radar vocalist, right? I wasn't confident in projecting, so that the vocals was always the weakest link in a lot of it. I think that's evolved a little bit now, but when I sit down to write a song, there's a melody in my head, and I know what's going to come out of my mouth in the way that I can sing. Mm-hmm. So that's where, like, I wouldn't be a very accomplished, like, let's play a canon of different cover songs and stuff like that. That's just, I just can't go there. That's just not the way that my musical brain functions as a vocalist.
No, I got you too. I can't play cover songs because I always say nobody can play my songs better than me. Yeah. So I just stick to those, because when I play covers, they don't sound.
He does a pretty good Pixies cover there that we do throw into the set every now and again there. So
yeah, I mean it's familiar.
Yeah.
You know, in the right setting, the right venue, it's the right song to drop in the center of a set list.
I love the Pixies. Frank Black and Kim Deal and
maybe a little too familiar. I'm thinking of our last show where another band was playing the same cover song.
So, oh no! Yeah. On the same night.
Same night. Yeah. Oh no! So at least we caught it before we went up, but I ended up jumping on stage with him and subbing in as their guitar player for that song. So it was a collaborative effort.
Yeah, you should have said, we're going to cover that band's song. Yeah, exactly. That was really good. We just learned it in the back.
Yeah. But back to your question about is there a message or a particular angle? Not really like I wouldn't use labels like Class 91 is a a political band that has like a particular like message about A, B, and C. Having said that, though, there's a lot of stuff that happens in the world that pisses us off enough to want to write about it. And Lost Stories does have a little bit more of that under the hood than Eyes on Fire, which was a little bit more metaphorical in a lot of ways. Like pick it up on some, here's an interesting observation made over here in this circumstance. Maybe I'll, flush that into sort of a fictional story with characters that are kind of going through something. But Lost Stories is a little bit more on the chin, and that seems to be kind of the trajectory that we're sort of like currently going in. Just to draw put a bit of a spotlight on behavior and stuff.
A lot of reflection. It's a lot of Ian's stuff is coming out reflecting on the past 30 years. Look how far we've come as one of our songs, which is a clear reflection on, how are we possibly in this scenario again where we're talking nuclear, and we talked about that in the last podcast we did as well too. It's that's a straight just reflection. How far we've come, tongue in cheek.
Yeah, it was a long way back to the start, right?
Pretty much, right?
Took the long way around, but yeah.
No, and it just and this is a bit of a again it's good songwriting fodder and a bit of a pet peeve there. It's just about how particularly bad human experiences have a shelf life, right? So if there's a lack of a living memory, or if a living memory starts to fade on something, then typically it'll spin around and doing that type of thing again, right? So to Brock's point about some of the stuff that we're reading in the headlines today, I mean that's stuff that was playing out 30 years ago and then 30 years before that. So and particularly as we're obviously reflecting on it from our vantage point in life there too, but when you're also trying to communicate that concern to our kids' generation as well, we're having to have those conversations and explain to things. And like Polaris is another good example of that as well. That was very much a reflection of, during COVID, when you had like the George Floyd murder and the Black Lives Matter movement and all that type of stuff, watching children's generation reacting to that, right? Seeing stuff that was really taking them off guard in context of the time of lockdowns and all that type of stuff. There's just a lot of social upheaval, a lot of really, really gnarly stuff happening. So Polaris is kind of a reflection, or through the eyes of somebody who's experiencing those types of really traumatic experiences for the first time, but almost with a sense of, I want to say optimism, but sort of like a bit of a positive angle to that. It's like, oh, maybe there are solutions. Maybe I can offer these types of things to get rid of this. Well,
you hope so.
You hope so, right? While the cynical generation over on this side of the microphone's like, yeah. But that's very much what, like, songs like that were very much, they were tapping into events and processes of the time, right? Mm-hmm. So I know Neighborhood Noise did a write-up on Lost Stories when it came out, and they said something to the effect that, like, the world has given them a lot to sing about. Basically, was the message.
Being a lyricist and writing lyrics, I think maybe we don't look at it in a way. It's like sometimes you see bands playing huge festivals and people are singing the lyrics back at them and whatever. But I think anybody who writes lyrics or puts words out into the world, especially nowadays with social media, you have to be kind of responsible with your words too, if that's the message. Because even if two people listen to the song, those two people might love the song and they might listen to it, binge it for a month. You know what I mean? So yeah, I feel, I don't know. I think about that sometimes with lyrics because I have trouble writing lyrics, but I try to stay away from being topical just because I don't think I could say it right.
Yeah.
So I commend people that.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting perspective too, right? Because I think, and again, I do share that. That's why I would never sort of say that, Class 91 has a message that they are trying to send out, right? Because I don't think I'm the right vehicle, or we're the right vehicle to put something that's that pointed out on the table for those exact reasons. But I think you can offer a perspective or a lens on something that is happening at a particular point in time, and then let people sort of interpret that in a way that they feel maybe comfortable doing so. But I tend to agree with you.
I think like all good art, there's room for interpretation in what Ian writes, and sure, there's a theme to his songwriting, but I think you could pick any one of those songs out and read it in any number of ways.
Out of the corner
Okay, so now the band is it's up and rolling. You guys are going strong. You've been playing a lot of shows lately.
Yeah. Our last show we did House of Targ with Teenage Fiction and Root Cause, and yeah, we've been trying to get roughly a show every month and a half. We have a big one coming up in November, on November 18th at Saw. That's with Neon Ghost House, Stoby, and Hannibig. So that's Spectrasonic is putting that one on. So we're quite excited for that one. It's our first time playing at Saw, so it's we're looking forward to that.
Saw Gallery, that's awesome. That's super good. And Spectrasonic, wow.
Yeah. So no, we're super excited. Excited for that. So I mean, we try to get out and either organize a show or get on something as much as we can without oversaturating our, because that's always the balance with a city the size of Ottawa. It's got a really vibrant and electric scene right now, with only so many venues to play in as well, right? So you kind of have to try to strike that little bit of a balance as much as
100%.
as much as possible. But yeah, no, it's fun.
That's great, man. That's great. And playing shows is what it's all about. Do you guys go to town at all, or do you have any plans in the works for that?
Yeah, so it's not formally announced yet, but we're heading back down to Toronto in early December. That'll probably, at least at this stage, be our last show of this calendar year. We've been down to Toronto once before. We played Montreal last year. So yeah, again, we try to, just every single option that kind of presents itself, we'll definitely explore. We've had a very nascent conversation to maybe trying to, hit a few other towns in southwestern Ontario as well. It'll be kind of a fun project to work on at some point. It's just idea factory at this stage, but yeah, as much as we can do stuff to keep us going.
But you know what? It doesn't come easy. It comes with a lot of hard work. But the work is fun and it's a labor of love, and I'm sure you guys wouldn't want to be doing anything else at this point. Real briefly, kind of into the future, what do you guys see yourselves? More records? You guys want to? Any loose plans for 2024?
So we just finished recording a new single that we hope to have out in November there before the Saw show. So that's there, and I think we'll probably keep chipping away at some songwriting. I say the little format that we have seems to land pretty good there with regard to just being able to record stuff on our own time and release it on our own time.
It's the best.
I think when you were interviewing Sandy there from Teenage Fiction, he was talking about the Ottawa Gatineau comp that him and Andrew Grosvenor put together. So we had one of our songs was featured on that as well. So again, it's nice when these opportunities come up, because again, it's cost neutral on our front to be able to do it, and just
gets it out there, right?
So it's fun. So everybody out there, you know who you are. We love you.
Yeah. So thank you so much for answering all my stupid questions, but I got some more for you. I used to do this on Ego and Vice a long time ago, and I've been meaning to bring it back. It's just kind of 20 questions with the band. It's like 20 questions with Class of 91. I even have like a little theme music. And it was a segment that, I don't know, you know how like David Letterman was like top 10 and whatever. I tried to do that with it. I don't know if it caught on at all. Is it okay if I bring it back with you guys just for some fun?
I'm excited.
If at the end of it you go, don't put that shit on the podcast, I'll cut it out because we're at enough time already. Okay, so I just need to know that I have your consent here. Nothing crazy. Like I said, this is a family-friendly fucking show.
Yeah.
Here we go. 13 questions with Class of 91.
Questions and answers, honesty lies. Yes, no, you can't, but you can if you know why.
Shit, you must be fucking, man. Like, what's he talking about?
Any questions?
So we'll go around the table and just quick questions. We don't need to draw out the answers. If you're on death row, what would be your last meal? Steve.
Oh my God. Wings. Give me some wings.
Delicious. Brock.
All set. Oh, that same question.
We're all on death row.
Oh, you all got to answer.
We're all on death row. I guess pizza.
Pizza?
What would I go with? I'd probably go with a good steak.
Steak is good. What was the first record, CD, or tape you bought with your own money when you were a kid?
Whoa. So shoplifting doesn't count?
You know what? I'm going to give you shoplifting. Sure.
I seem to recall. I'm forgetting his name now. Give me a second. It'll come.
Do you want to pass and come back?
Sure.
Well, as you asked that question, it jumped right into my head.
All right.
It's a little embarrassing. It was the album. It was Lionel Richie's Dancing on the Ceiling.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, it wasn't one that I bought with my own money, but I socially influenced my parents to buy me "Stay Hungry" by Twisted Sister.
Oh, it's a classic.
Yeah.
I think I
they
still
were
have
they
that.
were mortified going into Sam the Record Man at Merivale Mall back in the day and walking out with Dee Snider chomping
Chewing on the bone?
Yeah.
Classic album cover. Steve did it.
I'm still blanking.
Okay. Steve's a pass.
Well, I could throw in.
He's too
one that-
traumatized to be on death row.
Yeah, no, more to the era of these guys. What they're talking about, wouldn't have been my own money, but probably the Kenny Rogers album.
Kenny Rogers.
Yeah, that's.
Mine was a cassette of Bon Jovi, "Slippery When Wet."
Nice.
No, that was the first one I actually purchased. Okay. What was the first live concert you ever saw?
Whoa. I need more time. Go the other way around.
Steve's not a speed round kind of guy, is
No.
Yeah, for me it was Bryan Adams on the Reckless tour with Rock and Hyde and Tom Cochrane and Red Ryder. It was on the triple bill at the X.
Oh, very nice.
It was the Cult with Billy Idol opening, or it was Dayglow Abortions at Porter Hall. I don't know which one came first.
Dayglow. Oh my goodness.
I
There's a first show for you, eh? All right.
I recall now it was another X show, but it had Kim Mitchell and The Box on the bill.
The
And
Box.
perhaps, yeah.
I love the Box.
Oh, yeah. It was a great show.
What was that main? What was the box? They had that one song that was above all the other ones.
Yeah.
Remember, it was a.
Sash Jordan was on that one too. There,
Yeah, I
she
think
was
so.
back vocals.
She was
for that,
backing
yeah.
vocals
Oh,
with
yeah.
the Box.
I
Yeah,
could
what
see
was
the
that
video. Yeah.
All right, that's awesome.
Yeah, there's one that was like a murder in like the French countryside or something like this.
Yeah.
Okay, if you had a time machine and you can go see any concert of any time, what would you want to go see?
I would say Jack White playing at, I forget the venue now, but it's all surrounded in a rocky landscape. You guys know what I'm talking about?
What, at Red Rocks in Colorado?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
That would have been a crazy show to be at.
I think I would have wanted to see Hendrix guitar mode, right?
Yeah. I was a big fan when I was younger of U2 live at Red Rocks, Under a Blood Red Sky. The concert movie for that one was always that would have been a cool one to see.
Yeah, I love those early U2 records. They were really, really good. Boy and War. Yeah. I probably shouldn't be answering your questions, but I'd want to go to Miami and watch The Doors, where Jim Morrison just lost his shit. Right?
Yeah.
It probably was nothing like the Oliver Stone film, but fuck, that looked great.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay, just a little off music. What's the world's worst invention?
Oh God.
iPad. Straight up.
We don't get through a rehearsal with Brock without him cursing all forms of technology.
Yeah, going Upper
and,
Canada Village on us there.
Yeah, vowing to get rid of his phone before the year's out.
The worst invention. I don't know. The Floby. I thought that one was a bit odd.
Oh, that's a brilliant invention. Come on, man.
I didn't say it was the worst. I just said it was a bit unusual. I don't know.
The hot dog toaster thing.
I think the
Perhaps.
Floby was the.
Bassomatic, guys. It's Bassomatic.
Slap chop. Slap them nuts. Anyway, all right, let's move on. A few more here. Name something you listened to today. Oh, current.
Well, it was Expectations by Neon Ghost House on the way over here today.
Great song. Love that song.
Yeah, I keep finding myself going down an M83 rabbit hole every now and again. Yeah.
I don't do well on the spot, you guys. I listened to all kinds of shit today, and what the hell was it? Oh my god!
In the liner notes to your next record, when it says Steve, it better say Speed Round in between his first and last name. Or Speed Round, I don't know. So excited.
Name it that.
I had the OCs on about a hour and a half or maybe more random shuffle on Spotify.
Awesome.
While I was working today.
Okay, couple more, and then we are out of here. Have you ever had a music I was there moment?
Oh, I got one. When the stadium
Speed Round.
Speed Round nails it, eh?
Yeah. I'm on fire right now. When the stadium fell down at Blues Fest and
cool.
the sheepdogs.
I mean, not cool. That's
no, not cool. But yeah, it was seeing that happen in real time was very memorable for me.
Yeah, no doubt. That was definitely an I was there, because that's a story people would tell, and you could say,
Yeah.
I was fucking there.
Yeah.
Nothing to that degree for me.
Yeah.
Minor stuff. That's wow.
That's a tough one to top.
Yeah, no, Speed Round wins that one. So.
All right. Attaboy, Speed Round. If your band, Class 91, could open for any band right now, like tomorrow, I guess that's a collective question.
Teenage Fiction.
Teenage Fiction.
That you haven't played with already.
Who would we play with?
Bob Mould.
I was going to say, I heard some Husker Du in your stuff. No?
Yeah.
Husker Du, little Bob Mould?
Yeah, that's definitely that's one of those influences.
When you were naming the bands off earlier, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I was going to say, is there a little Bob Mould in your life?
Yeah.
Because, anyway.
Yeah, that's there's definitely some Bob Mould.
He's the best, man. I love Bob Mould.
Yeah. No, he's been a big
second in behind that for you.
Yeah.
No.
Or Iron Maiden.
Oh, Iron Maiden.
A triple bill.
Bob Mould, Iron Maiden. Yeah, I can see where that's all. Did we? Okay. Oh, did you? Oh, Bob Mould. You said Bob Mould. Okay, very good. Sorry, I completely just went somewhere else. Okay, and this is an individual question. The last of 20 questions with, that was only like 12 questions, but the last of 12 questions with Class of 91. If you could have a drink with a musician, rock star, whatever, live or dead, who would it be?
Go over there.
No, go in the middle.
Live or dead, drink with a musician. You know what? Even right now, because I just finished reading her memoir, I'd sit down with Patti Smith right now.
Nice.
Yeah, that'd be good. Ian MacKaye from Fugazi.
Ah.
Interesting.
He's a minor threat.
I don't know, Keith Moon.
Keith Moon. Wow. You'd have to have a lot of drinks instead of one.
Sorry. I think he would probably force them on you.
Yeah, probably. And then he'd blow you up.
Yeah. Throw you out
Anyway, thank you so much for coming out, guys. It's been a pleasure having you in, and I wish you nothing but the best. Keep in touch. I definitely am gonna. I keep saying this. I'm gonna get out and see shows. All these shows. I have so many shows to see. But I promise to everyone, and I promise to you guys that I will be in the crowd at one point. So,
November 18th, saw.
November 18th, saw. There we go. Where's my calendar? I'll just pencil it in with all the rest of them. So, but again, thanks again so much. Any last words?
Yeah. Thanks very much for having us. It's been
You're
an
welcome.
absolute
Mike.
treasure.
You're welcome. All the best.
Watch all the spotlights slowly fading, one by one. Count the broken pieces, never quite sure who has won. We need time to become the enemy, and after it all, we're doing fall.
Hey, I'm back. I'd really like to thank Class of 91 for coming into South Hood Studio and sitting down with me and taking an hour or so to have a conversation. It was a good time, a lot of fun, and keep an eye out and an ear out for those guys. Class of 91. If you want to get a hold of me, you can always reach me at egoandvice@gmail.com. If you want to listen to the podcast, you can find it anywhere. Spotify, down the list. Just search Ego and Vice in your Google search engine. I'm the only one. Ego and Vice podcast. Trademark. That's it for me. As always, I will see you next week. And also, as always, be good to yourself and be good to the people that are good to you. Right? Have a good one. See you next time.
You've got a real attitude problem, McFly. You're a slacker.